to Proverbs. We are in chapter 30 today. We are almost done, and we are just excited. As Travis was saying, it's exciting to be able to finish a book. And maybe you guys are like, man, I don't know what to go through next. Maybe you're thinking like, oh, Psalms would be fun. That's a really long book, and it might take you a long time to get through. So there's no shame in going through one of those one-page books halfway through, just to feel that accomplishment. If that's what you need. Some people need that feeling. Not you?
Not gonna
You're
say
not that
anything.
person.
I'm not going to say anything.
That's okay. But yeah, we're excited to be just about done with Proverbs. Hopefully it has been a good time for you. And more than just a good time, hopefully it has been helpful for you. Hopefully you've gained some wisdom through this. If not from our words, hopefully at least from the Bible, because that's what's important here. I've had fun. I've had a little bit of fun at least.
Certainly had a little bit of fun.
Not so much on the editing side, but on being here and reading the Bible with Travis. That's fun, I think. Anyways, we're going to read chapter 30. As always, we're going to start in verse 1. I'm going to start, though, this time. Oh, I don't know. Darn it. This is why you made me start. The sayings of Agur, son of Jekah, an inspired utterance. This man's utterance to Ithiel. I am weary, God, but I can prevail. Surely I am only a brute, not a man. I do not have human understanding. I have not learned wisdom, nor have I attained to the knowledge of the Holy One, who has gone up to heaven and come down, whose hands have gathered up the wind, who has wrapped up the waters in a cloak, who has established all the ends of the earth. What is his name, and what is the name of his son? Surely you know. Every word of God is flawless. He is a shield to those who take refuge in him. Do not add to his words, or he will rebuke you and prove you a liar. 2 things I ask of you, Lord. Do not refuse me before I die. Keep falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Otherwise, I may have too much and disown you, and say, who is the Lord? Or I may become poor and steal, and so dishonor the name of my God. Do not slander a servant to their master, or they will curse you, and you will pay for it. There are those who curse their fathers and do not bless their mothers, those who are pure in their own eyes, and yet are not cleansed of their filth. Those whose eyes are ever so haughty, whose glances are so disdainful. Those whose teeth are swords, and those whose jaws are set with knives, to devour the poor from the earth and the needy from among mankind. The leech has 2 daughters. Give, give, they cry. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, 4 that never say, enough. The grave, the barren womb, land, which is never satisfied with water, and fire, which never says, enough.
The eye that mocks a father, that scorns an aged mother, will be pecked out by the ravens of the valley, and will be eaten by the vultures. There are 3 things that are too amazing for me, 4 that I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a snake on a rock, the way of a ship on the high seas, and the way of a man with a young woman. This is the way of an adulterous woman. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. Under 3 things the earth trembles. Under 4 it cannot bear up. A servant who becomes king, a godless fool who gets plenty to eat, where did I go? Verse 22, I guess. A servant who becomes a king, a godless fool who gets plenty to eat, a contemptible...
Yeah, you did it.
Yeah, I know, but a contemptible woman... I almost said man. who gets married, and a servant who displays her mistress.
Displaces.
What? Oh, yeah. Displaces her mistress. 4 things on earth are small, yet they are extremely wise. Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. Hyraxes are creatures of little power, yet they make their home in the crags. Crags? Sorry. Crags, not crags. Crags are people, crags are not. Locusts have no king, yet they advance together in ranks. A lizard can be caught with the hand, yet it is found in kings' palaces. There are 3 things that are stately in their stride. 4 that move with what?
Stately bearing.
Where am I? Oh, 4 that move with stately bearing. A lion, mighty among animals, who retreats before nothing. A strutting rooster. This one is weird. A strutting rooster, a he-goat, and a king secure against revolt. If you play the fool and exalt yourself, or if you plan evil, clap your hand over your mouth. For as churning cream produces butter, and as twisting the nose produces blood, so stirring up anger produces strife.
Right.
And that one was rough.
Yeah. But you did it. If you guys are wondering what a hyrax is, hyraxes are well-furred, rotund animals with short tails. Typically, they measure between 30 and 70 centimeters and weigh about 4 to 11 pounds. Yeah, and they're usually like in Africa, is what this says. I'm trying to find it. I had a picture. We'll see if I can. Okay, we'll see
Do I
if
get
that
to
works.
see?
Oh yeah, it looks like this. Chubby little thing.
No wonder that thing can be 11 pounds. If you didn't catch on to that, Amanda just called me fat without saying anything. So, there's that. But remember the old saying, the camera adds 10 pounds. So.
Yeah.
Okay, you talk.
So the verses that I was wanting to focus on today are 7 and 8. Well, 7, 8, and 9. Sorry. 2 things I ask of you, Lord. Do not refuse me before I die. Keep falsehood and lies from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Otherwise I may have too much and disown you and say, who is the Lord? Or I may become poor and steal and so dishonor the name of my God. So keeping falsehood and lies far from you, I think that's pretty clear, and I know that we've talked about just being honest in life in previous chapters. Sorry, I thought you were doing some kind of face over there. But I think this other part is good. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. That's not usually something that people ask for. Obviously, most people don't ask for poverty either. They a lot of times are asking for riches or an abundance. A lot of times people will ask for things that are just over the top, like they want a hot tub or a new truck or something. Have you never heard of people asking for those things? Okay, maybe not the real prayer warriors, but I've heard some crazy things in youth groups and such that have been asked for. But how often do we genuinely just ask God for our daily bread? And how much do we really think about this concept of not wanting to have too much and disown God because of it, or become too poor and dishonor God? And so I think that that's a good thing to ask for, is just our daily bread. The other thing is that when we're in need of God for our daily bread, then we're going to be focused on Him that much more. And so I think that's just a good place to be in. Did you have anything to add to that? Okay.
So I'm doing verse 32 and 33. If you play the fool and exalt yourself, or if you plan evil, clap your hand over your mouth. For as churning cream produces butter, and as twisting the nose produces blood, so stirring up anger produces strife. So I think this is funny because it ends kind of in the exact opposite way than it started. In the beginning, the author says this: I am weary, God, but I can prevail. Surely I am only a brute, not a man. I do not have human understanding. I have not leaned on wisdom, nor have I attained to the knowledge of the Holy One. And then it kind of just keeps going on, talking about humbling themselves. And so look at James 4:10, if you have some spare time, which says this: Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and He will lift you up. So plainly stating, if you start to exalt yourself, put your hand over your mouth. It's better that you say not another word. Clap your hand over your mouth. For those of us that have trouble being humble, we must adhere to that, because you read all throughout Scripture God humbling people or people humbling themselves. And that's how you kind of get righteousness. I really liked one commentator, doesn't really go deep into this, but he says, those who make trouble get into trouble. Hidden in the second smile, however, is the warning that those who make trouble are liable to get punched in the nose. We need to make sure that we are humble towards people. We are humble when addressing other people, but most importantly, we need to be humble before God. There are so many people that will address God in lackluster ways. And what I mean by that is, so God is a personal God, right? He likes to be one with us and care for us and create a relationship with us and all of this stuff. But sometimes I think because of that, the evangelical side of Christianity, so the not the Catholic side of Christianity, but the evangelical side of Christianity, what most mainstream Christian churches are these days, we've kind of lost our reverence for God and lost our reverence for His name. The Jews wouldn't even say His name. They even made up a word so as to not say His name. And yet, we as Christians will address God like, hey man, hey dude. And there's got to be this holy balance between addressing God as God the Father, your personable friend, one who cares for you, but also, on the other side, a holy and just God whose name shouldn't come off of our lips because of how unworthy we are. So, just a metaphor, or going back to the Bible to look at it. Look at how many times when angels show up and people are scared out of their minds. Right? Like, they're always... the most famous saying of an angel is, do not be afraid, do not fear.
Isn't Mary the only person that they didn't say that to?
In a sense, you can read through... That's in Matthew, where it talks about that. But just think about that aspect of just an angel, right? An angel isn't God, and yet they're scared and they're so holy in a way that it freaks people out. And yet, when Moses went up on the mountain to get the tablets, when he came down, he had to cover his face because he was in the presence of God. Like, they couldn't even look at Moses. And yet we address God so lacklusterly and casually that sometimes we forget the reverence of God. We forget the holiness that God is, right? That if it was not for Jesus, if it was not for Jesus being our mediator, right, in heaven, and if Jesus didn't die on the cross for us, we couldn't step foot in the presence of God because of how unholy we are and how holy God is. And so, that humble yourselves, to me, is huge. Because we should address God in that same way. That He is a holy God. We are undeserving to even be able to say His name. We are undeserving in the fact that we can read His words. We are undeserving in so many aspects of the Christian life. And yet God says, come. And so we better be humble when we address the foot of God. We better not treat it as something that is just, whatever. I'm not going to give it my full attention. We need to be humble before people, but especially before God. Because I don't really think that we are humble before God. And so, I just want you guys to think about that and pray about that. And, yeah. I don't know what else to say.
I think that about covers it.
All right. Well, last chapter, next video. So thanks for joining us, you guys. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.